One of the strongest signals of inner peace is how you carry yourself in their presence or in the presence of reminders of them. You don't rush to speak, you don't look nervous, and you don't force interaction. You're comfortable with silence, comfortable with space. That calmness says more than any words could. It says you've made peace with what happened and you've chosen to live without resentment or desperation. Inner peace also shows in how you respond to conflict or provocation. When someone expects you to argue, defend yourself, or beg for answers, but instead you remain composed, it throws them off balance. It's not weakness, it's control. You're no longer giving them the satisfaction of knowing they can stir your emotions at will. Your restraint becomes your strength. To maintain this peace, you have to protect it. That means creating boundaries around your time, your energy, and your attention. You don't need to explain every decision or justify your boundaries. You simply live them. If something or someone disrupts your calm, you limit their access to you. This isn't about shutting people out. It's about guarding the mental and emotional stability you've worked hard to build. Your lifestyle will reflect your inner peace too. You're not chasing chaos or filling your schedule with distractions to avoid feeling alone. Instead, you choose activities that nourish you: exercise, nature, meditation, reading, creative projects. You surround yourself with people who bring out your best instead of draining you. You become intentional about how you spend your days, which adds to the sense of order and calm in your life. Even your online presence can communicate peace. You're not posting cryptic quotes aimed at them or showing off in an attempt to provoke jealousy. Instead, you share genuine moments of joy, progress, and gratitude. You present yourself as someone living fully, not someone stuck in a cycle of reaction. That quiet confidence often speaks louder than any direct message ever could. The beauty of inner peace is that it changes the dynamic without you having to do anything to the other person. It shifts the focus back to you. And in doing so, it makes them curious. They remember the version of you that might have been reactive or easily unsettled. Now they see someone unshaken, someone who's moved forward without bitterness. That contrast is compelling because peace is rare and people are drawn to it. Ironically, the more at peace you become, the less it matters whether they come back. You're no longer living in a state of emotional hunger, waiting for them to feed you with attention. You've learned to feed yourself with purpose, with self-care, with meaningful connections. And that's when people often return, not because you begged or chased, but because they feel the difference in your energy. When you show inner peace, you're not just showing them you've moved on. You're showing yourself that you've grown beyond the need for constant validation. And from that place, you become untouchable, not in a cold, distant way, but in a way that says, I am whole with or without you. And nothing draws respect, admiration, and attraction quite like that. Living with purpose means building a life that's bigger than any one person, relationship, or setback. When someone leaves you, it's easy to let their absence become the central focus of your thoughts and actions. You start revolving around the idea of getting them back, proving your worth, or showing them what they lost. But that kind of living keeps you stuck in reaction mode. Your existence becomes dependent on their choices. Living with purpose shifts all of that. It puts you back in control. It gives you something to wake up for every day that has nothing to do with them. Purpose isn't always some grand world-changing mission. It can start small. It's about having clear goals, direction, and a vision for where you want your life to go. When you know what you're working toward, you stop wasting energy chasing people who aren't moving in the same direction. Your time becomes too valuable to spend on things or people that don't align with your path. That's not arrogance, it's self-respect. The beauty of living with purpose is that it naturally pulls you forward. It gives your days structure and meaning. Instead of waking up thinking about what they're doing, you wake up thinking about your next step, your next challenge, your next win. You're no longer passively waiting for something to happen. You're actively creating the life you want. That energy is powerful. People notice when you're driven by something beyond the temporary highs of attention and approval. Purpose also makes you resilient. Life will test you and people will disappoint you. But when you have a strong why, those setbacks don't break you. You learn to see rejection not as a dead end, but as a redirection. You understand that not everyone is meant to walk with you to the finish line, and that's okay. You stop clinging to people out of fear of being alone because your mission is bigger than your comfort zone. This way of living changes the way you carry yourself. When you have something you're deeply passionate about, it shows in your energy, your posture, and your presence. You become someone who's moving forward with or without others. That independence is magnetic. People are drawn to those who seem to know where they're going, and they start to wonder if they should be part of your journey again. Living with purpose doesn't mean shutting out love or relationships. It means not making them your only source of meaning. When your entire identity revolves around another person, you give them too much power. But when your identity is rooted in your values, your goals, and your mission, you remain whole regardless of who stays or leaves. That's when you can love from a place of abundance instead of need. Your purpose might be tied to your career, your creativity, your health, your family, or your community. It might evolve over time. What matters is that it excites you enough to pull you out of bed in the morning and keep you focused when life gets messy. That sense of direction creates stability, and stability is something people find incredibly attractive. It signals that you're not lost and you're not waiting to be saved. You're already moving towards something important. When you live this way, you stop broadcasting desperation. You stop trying to prove yourself to anyone. Your life speaks for itself. And if they see you from a distance, chasing your dreams, building something meaningful, and radiating fulfillment, they can't help but take notice. Because while many people live for attention, very few live for purpose. And that difference stands out. In the end, living with purpose doesn't just make them more likely to come back. It makes you care less whether they do. You realize that the real win isn't getting someone back into your life. It's getting yourself back into alignment with the life you were meant to live. And once you taste that, you never want to go back to living aimlessly again. Letting her see the difference is not about rubbing your progress in her face or proving a point out of spite. It's about quietly evolving into a version of yourself that speaks louder than anything you could say. When someone leaves, they often do so with a fixed image of you in their mind. They remember the habits, the mindset, the energy you had when they decided to walk away. If you stay the same, you confirm their decision. But if you grow, level up, and transform, you force them to reconsider. The key here is subtlety. Real change doesn't need constant announcements. You don't have to post every achievement or send updates hoping she notices. You live your life in such a way that the difference is undeniable when she eventually crosses paths with you, whether in person, through mutual friends, or even just on social media. She should see, without you saying a word, that you are no longer the person she left behind. This difference starts with your mindset. If you were once needy, reactive, or insecure, she needs to see calm, confidence, and emotional control. If you used to base your self-worth on her attention, she should see that your value now comes from within. People are drawn to change they can't fully explain. They start to wonder how you became so composed, so self-assured, so focused. That curiosity can be more powerful than any direct attempt to win her back. Your appearance and presence matter too. This doesn't mean you change for her. you change for yourself. You take care of your health, improve your style, and carry yourself with purpose. The physical changes are just the surface. What really matters is the energy you project. When she sees you standing taller, speaking with confidence, and moving with intention, it sends a clear message. You've grown. Lifestyle is another part of the difference. If you used to be predictable or stuck in routine, she should see you living with more variety and passion. Maybe you're traveling, trying new activities, building your career, or deepening your social connections. You're no longer living in the shadow of the relationship. You're living fully, and it shows. And because you're not flaunting it to get a reaction, it feels authentic, which makes it even more impactful. The way you interact with her, if you do at all, is another powerful indicator. You're not bitter, but you're not overly eager either. You're polite, warm even. But there's a new boundary in place. You're no longer chasing, no longer hanging on her every word. That shift in energy can be shocking, especially if she's used to you always being available. It makes her realize she no longer has the same influence over you, and that realization can be a trigger for her to reevaluate. Letting her see the difference also means controlling your narrative. You don't badmouth her to others, and you don't play the victim. Instead, you let your growth speak for itself. People respect that kind of maturity, and word travels. Even if she doesn't hear it directly, she'll sense it through the way others respond to you. The real beauty of showing the difference is that it doesn't rely on her noticing right away. It's not about immediate gratification. You live your life, focus on your growth, and trust that change always makes its way back to those who need to see it. Sometimes it's weeks, months, or even years later when they realize how much you've evolved. By that time, you're so invested in your own journey that whether she returns or not is no longer the most important thing. And that's the ultimate twist. The more you focus on becoming the best version of yourself, the less you need her validation. The difference you've built is no longer a strategy to get her back. It's simply who you are now. If she sees it and comes back, it's because she's drawn to your new reality. If she doesn't, you still win, because you've created a life that feels better than anything you had before. At the heart of it all, this journey isn't about manipulating someone into returning. It's about reclaiming yourself, withdrawing your energy, focusing on self-improvement, detaching emotionally, building mystery, rebuilding your social value, showing inner peace, living with purpose, and letting her see the difference all flow into one truth. You are not the same person she left. When you shift your focus inward, you stop chasing love and start embodying it. You become whole without needing her presence to complete you. And in that wholeness, you naturally become magnetic, not because you're trying to impress her, but because you're living authentically with strength and clarity. If she comes back, it will be because she's drawn to the man you've become, not the one she once knew. And if she doesn't, you'll realize the transformation was never about her in the first place. It was about becoming the best version of you, for you. That's the emotional detachment begins with accepting reality. The more you resist what has already happened, the longer you stay stuck. If they left, they left. If they're not putting in effort, that's a choice they are making. You can't force someone to stay, but you can decide how you respond to their absence. Most people stay emotionally entangled because they're still holding on to the what ifs. What if they change their mind? What if they realize my value? What if I just do one more thing to convince them? But that thinking keeps you trapped in hope instead of moving forward in truth. When you detach emotionally, you shift your focus from how do I get them back to how do I get myself back. You stop allowing their actions to dictate your emotional state. If they call, you don't feel an instant rush that takes over your day. If they don't call, you don't spiral into anxiety. You remain steady because you've decided that your inner peace is more important than their approval. This doesn't happen overnight. It's a process of consistently choosing yourself over the need to be chosen by them. One of the most effective ways to detach emotionally is to limit or cut off contact. As long as they have constant access to you, the emotional cord stays alive. Every conversation, every interaction keeps you tied to their energy. That's why going silent, creating boundaries, and pulling back your attention is essential. It's not punishment, it's protection. It's you saying, I need space to heal, and I can't do that if I keep feeding the connection. The more distance you create, the clearer your mind becomes, and with clarity comes strength. Another key part of detachment is removing them from the center of your thoughts. This means catching yourself when you start daydreaming about them, replaying old memories, or stalking their social media. Those habits are emotional quicksand. They feel harmless in the moment, but keep you sinking deeper. Instead, redirect your attention. Immerse yourself in things that engage your mind and emotions in a healthy way. Hobbies, work, fitness, friendships, new experiences. The less mental space they occupy, the easier it becomes to feel neutral about them. Emotional detachment doesn't mean you stop caring about people altogether. It means you care about them from a healthy distance without losing yourself in the process. You can wish someone well and still decide they no longer get access to your heart. You can love someone, but also love yourself enough to walk away from anything that disturbs your peace. This balance is what makes you strong, because it shows that your happiness is not dependent on the presence of one specific person. When you master emotional detachment, you become immune to manipulation. They can't pull you back in with a random text, a half-hearted apology, or sudden attention after ignoring you. You see things for what they are instead of through the filter of your emotions. You make decisions based on reality, not temporary feelings. That level of self-control is powerful and deeply attractive. Ironically, when you truly detach emotionally, it often has the opposite effect of what people expect. Instead of pushing them further away, it draws them back in. That's because detachment signals self-respect. It shows that you're not desperate, you're not waiting, and you're not dependent on their validation. And human nature being what it is, people often crave the attention of those who don't need them. Detachment frees you. It breaks the cycle of overthinking, overgiving, and overanalyzing. It puts the focus back on your life, your growth, and your happiness. Whether they notice or not becomes irrelevant because you've built an inner world that's unshakable. And from that place of strength, if they ever do return, it's on your terms. Not because you couldn't live without them, but because you chose to let them back into a life that was already complete without them. Building mystery isn't about playing games or pretending to be someone you're not. It's about holding back enough of yourself that people are compelled to keep discovering more. Most people give away too much too soon. They overshare their every thought, every plan, every emotion, thinking it will create closeness. In reality, it removes all curiosity. When someone feels they already know everything about you, there's nothing left to uncover. And when there's nothing to uncover, there's nothing pulling them closer. Mystery is magnetic because it invites the other person's imagination to fill in the gaps. When you don't reveal every detail of your life, they start to wonder. They replay past conversations. They notice subtle changes in your behavior. They ask themselves questions like, what are they up to? Who are they spending time with? Why do they seem different? That wondering is what keeps you on their mind even when you're not around. The first step to building mystery is to stop being overly available. If you answer every message instantly, clear your schedule for them, and always make yourself accessible, you remove any challenge. Scarcity creates value, not just in money or resources, but in relationships too. When you're not always there, they begin to value the moments you do share. They realize your time and attention are precious, and that realization naturally makes them want more of it. Another way to create mystery is to have a life that's bigger than them. Pursue passions, goals, and hobbies that have nothing to do with the relationship. When they see you deeply invested in your own journey, they're intrigued. You become more than just the person they once knew. You become someone evolving, someone they can't fully pin down. This constant growth means there's always something new to learn about you. Mystery also comes from controlled expression. That means you don't need to announce every feeling you have toward them. If you're upset, you don't have to deliver a full explanation. If you're happy, you can share it without giving away every detail. When you hold back just enough, it keeps them guessing about the depth of your emotions and the direction of your thoughts. That unpredictability can be more powerful than constant reassurance. Socially, mystery thrives when you resist the urge to broadcast everything. Not everyone needs to know where you are, who you're with, or what you're doing at all times. In a world where oversharing is normal, privacy is powerful. When they can't track your every move through social media, they're forced to wonder, and wondering creates interest. You can also build mystery by being selective with your words. Instead of telling long, drawn-out stories that reveal everything, share enough to spark curiosity, then leave it at that. If they want to know more, they'll have to ask. This creates engagement because they're now the one chasing details instead of you constantly offering them. Mystery isn't coldness, it's depth. It's showing that there are layers to you, that there's more beneath the surface. You can still be warm, kind, and open-hearted while maintaining a level of privacy about certain parts of your life. In fact, this balance makes your presence even more captivating. When someone feels like they can't completely figure you out, they're drawn to you. They'll think about you when you're not around. They'll feel a pull to reconnect just to get closer to the truth of who you are. And if this is someone who once took you for granted, that mystery disrupts the pattern. It replaces the predictability they were used to with a renewed sense of excitement and curiosity. The beauty of building mystery is that it doesn't require any manipulation. Just a commitment to valuing your own inner world enough not to put it all on display. You become a person they have to earn access to rather than someone who hands it over freely. And in doing so, you not only make them more interested, but you also protect your own sense of self-worth. When done right, mystery is not about making them confused. It's about making them fascinated. It's about leaving just enough unsaid that they're always leaning in, always wondering, always wanting more. And once that intrigue is sparked, it becomes incredibly difficult for them to stay away. Rebuilding your social value means becoming someone whose presence adds undeniable worth to any room, any circle, and any relationship. When someone has walked away from you, part of the reason they could do so is because they felt they already had you figured out, or they stopped seeing you as a prize. Social value is what makes you magnetic. It's the combination of your reputation, your network, and the way you carry yourself in the world. The higher your social value, the more people are drawn to you, and the harder it becomes for someone to ignore or forget you. The first step in rebuilding this is to stop isolating yourself. After a breakup or rejection, many people withdraw into loneliness, thinking it will somehow make the other person miss them. But staying hidden doesn't make you more valuable. It makes you invisible. Instead, you need to put yourself back into environments where you can connect, meet new people, and be seen. This isn't about faking happiness or forcing interactions. It's about re-engaging with life and showing the world that you are still present and thriving. Your circle matters. Who you spend time with has a direct impact on how you are perceived. If you surround yourself with negative, stagnant people, it lowers your perceived value. But if you build connections with driven, positive, and socially respected individuals, your own value rises by association. This doesn't mean abandoning old friends, but it does mean being intentional about your environment. The people you align yourself with should inspire you, challenge you, and elevate your standards. Social value also comes from contribution. People remember and respect those who add value to their lives. That could mean being the one who brings positive energy to a gathering, offering support when others need it, or sharing knowledge and skills that help others grow. When you give without expecting anything in return, your presence starts to feel like an asset. People talk about you in a positive way when you're not around, and that word of mouth reputation is one of the strongest forms of social currency. You also need to cultivate a lifestyle worth noticing. This doesn't mean flaunting wealth or showing off achievements for validation. It's about living in a way that reflects self-respect and purpose. If you're pursuing meaningful goals, engaging in hobbies you're passionate about, and consistently improving yourself, your life naturally becomes more interesting. People are drawn to individuals who are going somewhere, those who are moving forward rather than standing still. Rebuilding social value is not just about external appearances, though. It's deeply tied to the way you carry yourself. Confidence, posture, and communication skills all matter. Speak with clarity, hold eye contact, walk into a room as if you belong there. These subtle cues send a powerful message about your self-worth, and people pick up on them instantly. Social media is another arena where your social value is on display. Instead of using it to overshare emotions or seek sympathy, use it to subtly showcase the life you're building. Share moments of growth, achievement, and joy, not to brag, but to reflect the fact that you are living fully. This creates intrigue without you having to directly address the person who left. If they see you from a distance, enjoying life and being celebrated by others, it challenges whatever assumptions they made when they walked away. One of the most underestimated parts of social value is exclusivity. You don't need to be accessible to everyone at all times. The more selective you are about where you go, who you spend time with, and what you give your attention to, the more people respect your presence when they have it. Value is tied to scarcity. And when your time and energy are treated as valuable resources, others start to treat them the same way. Over time, this shift becomes impossible to ignore. You transform from someone they once felt comfortable leaving to someone they now see as thriving, respected, and sought after. That contrast alone can make them rethink their decision, because in the end, people are naturally drawn to what others admire. And when your social value is strong, you don't have to chase anyone. Your life itself becomes an invitation for them to come closer. Showing inner peace is one of the most powerful and disarming things you can do after someone has left or pulled away. It's not about pretending you're unaffected. It's about truly reaching a place where your sense of calm is not dictated by their presence or absence. People expect drama, arguments, and emotional outbursts when they distance themselves. What they don't expect is serenity. And when they see you grounded, composed, and unshaken, it disrupts the pattern they were prepared for. Inner peace begins with the decision to no longer let external events control your internal state. It's a shift from reacting to everything they do to creating a steady foundation within yourself. You stop waiting for their call to feel happy or letting their silence ruin your day. You start cultivating peace from your own routines, your own passions, and your own sense of purpose. This kind of stability is rare, and it's magnetic because it shows that you are not dependent on someone else for emotion. She will come back when you stop chasing. Withdraw your energy, focus on your growth, and live with purpose. Let silence speak louder than words. Become the best version of yourself, not for her, but for you. When she sees the change, she won't resist returning. When you withdraw your energy, you're not just ignoring someone, you're reclaiming yourself. Too many people believe that if they keep showing up, texting, calling, and checking in, they'll somehow convince the other person to stay or return. But human nature works differently. The more you flood someone with attention after they've already decided to pull away, the more they feel justified in their decision. They start to see your presence not as a gift, but as something they can take for granted, and nothing loses value faster than something taken for granted. When you pull your energy back, you shift the dynamic instantly. It's not about being rude or cold, it's about redirecting your focus. Think about it. Your energy is your most valuable currency. You can spend it obsessing over someone who's no longer investing in you, or you can spend it building a life so fulfilling that their absence barely registers. Energy is not limitless. Every bit you give away to someone who doesn't appreciate it is energy you steal from your own growth. People are naturally curious creatures. When you're always available, there's no mystery, no spark. They know where to find you and exactly how you feel. But when you pull back, you create space. And in that space, questions begin to form. What are they doing? Who are they with? Why aren't they reaching out anymore? That curiosity is powerful because it turns the tables. Suddenly, they're thinking about you without you even trying. Withdrawing your energy doesn't mean playing games. It's not about manipulation, it's about self-respect. It's choosing not to pour into someone who isn't pouring into you. It's choosing not to keep knocking on a door that's been closed. Sometimes the strongest message you can send is silence. When they don't hear from you, when you're not posting for attention, when you're genuinely living your life without seeking their validation, it forces them to reassess your value. And if they took you for granted before, now they see what it feels like to live without your presence. This is where most people struggle. The moment you pull away, there's a part of you that wants to check if they've noticed. You want to peek at their social media, see if they're online, or find excuses to contact them. But every time you do, you break your own progress. You remind them you're still there, still waiting. If you truly want them to feel your absence, you have to commit fully, no half measures. You withdraw your energy completely and invest it elsewhere, into your health, your ambitions, your hobbies, your friendships, your purpose. And here's the irony. When you do this sincerely, you stop caring so much whether they come back or not, because you realize that you were never actually missing them. You were missing the version of yourself that was confident, focused, and alive before you started overgiving. The act of withdrawing energy isn't about punishing them. It's about healing you. It's about breaking the habit of making someone else the center of your emotional world. People feel the difference between someone who is desperate for their attention and someone who is content without it. Desperation pushes them away. Self-contentment draws them closer. The moment you no longer need them to validate your worth, you become more attractive, not just to them, but to the world in general. Opportunities appear. People notice your confidence. Your life starts to feel rich again. And in that richness, if they do return, it's because they see something in you that they can no longer ignore. So withdrawing your energy isn't weakness. It's the ultimate power move. It's the moment you stop begging to be chosen and start choosing yourself. And once you choose yourself fully, you'd be surprised how many people who once walked away suddenly want to come back. Focusing on self-improvement is not just about looking better or earning more. It's about transforming your entire state of being. When someone leaves, the natural temptation is to fixate on what they're doing, who they're with, and how you can get them back. But that's exactly where most people go wrong. Chasing someone never works because it keeps you stuck in their orbit instead of building your own. Self-improvement shifts that energy inward. It takes the focus off them and puts it where it belongs, on you. When you start investing in yourself, you send a silent but powerful message. You are your own priority. That's attractive, not just to the person who left, but to everyone around you. It's human nature to be drawn to people who have direction, confidence, and a sense of purpose. When your life has momentum, you become magnetic. People notice even if they pretend not to. And the person who walked away starts to wonder if they made a mistake. This process starts with your mindset. No matter how disciplined you are with your appearance, career, or social life, if your thoughts are rooted in insecurity and neediness, it will show. You have to rebuild the way you see yourself. That means identifying the habits, beliefs, and routines that kept you stagnant and replacing them with ones that push you forward. Read books that challenge your perspective. Learn skills that make you more capable. Surround yourself with people who elevate you rather than drain you. Every day becomes a chance to grow mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Your physical presence matters too. When you take care of your health through exercise, proper nutrition, and rest, you not only look better, but you also carry yourself differently. You move with confidence. You speak with certainty. You project strength without saying a word. And whether they admit it or not, people respond to that energy. The person who left may have known one version of you, but self-improvement introduces them to a new one that's sharper, more grounded, and harder to walk away from. Finances are another crucial part of this transformation. You don't need to be wealthy, but having control over your money changes how you feel about yourself. It gives you freedom, options, and a sense of security that others can sense. Financial independence means you're not relying on anyone else to take care of you, and that level of self-reliance is deeply attractive. It signals that you're capable of building and sustaining your own life. Your social value matters as well. The more interesting and fulfilled your life is, the more you stand out. Travel, take up hobbies, try new experiences, not for the sake of impressing anyone, but to enrich your own existence. When your life is full of stories, laughter, and growth, you naturally become someone people want to be around. You're no longer waiting for one person to complete you because you've already built a life that feels complete on its own. Self-improvement also strengthens your emotional control. Instead of reacting to every emotion or overthinking every situation, you develop resilience. You learn how to respond calmly rather than impulsively. This kind of composure is rare, and it's one of the biggest signs of maturity. The person who left may remember you as someone who would break down or beg for attention, but now they see someone steady, confident, and unshakable. The beauty of self-improvement is that it changes the dynamic without you having to say a word. You don't need to announce your growth or try to prove anything. People notice it in the way you move, speak, and carry yourself. They notice that you're not the same person they left behind. And that quiet transformation often speaks louder than any conversation you could have. By focusing on yourself, you take back the power you once handed over. You stop living for their approval and start living for your own. Whether they come back or not becomes less important, because the real reward is who you become in the process. And ironically, that's usually when they want to come back, when they see you've built a life so full, so vibrant, that they can't help but want to be part of it again. Detaching emotionally is one of the hardest but most liberating steps you can take when someone has walked away from you. It's not about pretending you don't care or shutting off your heart completely. It's about creating enough space between your feelings and your actions so that your emotions no longer control you. When you are emotionally attached to someone, every little thing they do or don't do can affect your mood, your decisions, and even your self-worth. That's a dangerous place to be because it puts your happiness in the hands